General Hospital spoilers tease that Carly, with all she's been through with Sonny over the years, is coming to a cold realization that one of the most profound and silent adjustments is happening right before her eyes, as Sonny's entire world, once as solid as an impregnable fortress, is now starting to show cracks that are hard to hide. She doesn't need gossip or hype to realize that, this time, Sonny is facing challenges unlike any he's faced before, and more dangerously. He's lacking the preparation and strength to face them the way he once did. The eyes that follow Sonny in the hospital, the whispered conversations that Carly overhears, all point to one thing. Sonny is no longer the invincible man Port Charles once believed him to be. One of the most frightening changes Carly has noticed is that Sonny's once sharp, almost frighteningly precise judgments are faltering, his reactions are slowing, and the confidence that underpins his power is slowly eroding. Sonny, instead of being at the top of his game, is being forced to adjust step by step, struggling to withstand the waves of change that he once so easily navigated. Carly, whose survival instincts have kept her afloat amid Port Charles's most brutal battles, knows that this is more than a personal crisis. This is a true power shift, a fragile moment from which, if Sonny doesn't recover and regain the upper hand, the empire he's built will crumble beneath him, and this time there will be no forgiveness or redo it. What Carly saw, and increasingly felt, was that a new story was being quietly written, a story of a powerful man facing the reality that it wasn't his strongest enemy that could bring him down, but the corruption from within. The inevitable weakening that time and pressure had brought. And so, Carly understood that the task now was not just to support Sonny emotionally as an old friend, a former lover, but also to help him control the damage that was spreading like an oil slick. Every rumor, every whisper about Sonny's weakness, not only damaged his personal reputation, but also weakened the system of alliances, power, and hidden relationships that had maintained stability in this part of the city. Carly couldn't simply stand by and hope that things would just go back to normal. She knew that a proactive adjustment had to be made immediately, a sophisticated strategy of damage control, of not allowing her opponents to smell the blood and pounce before Sonny could recover. But Carly also knew that she was walking on a razor's edge. The smallest mistake, an ill-timed word, an overexposed presence, could be instantly blown up into evidence of weakness, or worse, into a false narrative of a love story between her and Sonny. The enemies lurking around Sonny, former rivals, betrayed allies, would not hesitate to use any weapon, including doubt and division, to bring him down. And Carly knew that once Sonny fell, so would she, too. In the midst of this chaos, Carly must become colder, more calculating, more determined than ever, not just for Sonny's sake, but for the sake of her very existence in Port Charles, a place where even a moment of weakness can mean her own demise. She must help Sonny restore his invulnerable image, hide the cracks that are becoming more apparent, and above all, protect him from the very people who once applauded him, but are now ready to stab him in the back at the first opportunity. Port Charles is about to enter a period of unprecedented change, where every alliance will be tested, every loyalty will be put to the test. And the truly strong will be those who know how to control not only the outside forces but also the storms raging within themselves. And Carly, with all the sharpness, loyalty, and bravery she'd honed over the years, was ready to step into that battle, for Sonny, for herself, and for all she could save. Not a step back. Not a mistake. Because this time, the price of failure would be everything. Carly, with her keen intuition and survival instincts honed over years of Port Charles intrigue and betrayal, is slowly coming to grips with a truth more dangerous than anything she's ever encountered. Sonny, once unstoppable in the city's underworld, is now being held in a silent but ruthless siege by none other than Natalia and Brennan. Through every small sign, every unusual encounter, every seemingly innocuous word, Carly begins to piece together the puzzle, realizing that a new, sophisticated, and vicious plan is being deployed to ruthlessly bring Sonny down. Natalia, with her sweet appearance but cold ambition, and Brennan, who always knows how to hide her dark schemes under a mask of righteousness, are secretly manipulating the changes around Sonny, gradually pushing him into sophisticated traps, where no matter how talented he is, it will be difficult to escape without leaving serious injuries. Carly understands that this time, Sonny is not simply facing an external threat, but a hidden war, where the enemy knows exactly his weaknesses, knows when to hit hard and when to drown him in doubt and isolation. One of the new changes that is quietly exploding is that Natalia and Brennan's plans are no longer limited to small moves, but have turned into large-scale coordinated attacks, aimed directly at the reputation, health and secret alliances that Sonny once relied on to maintain power. Carly realizes that the old story of the invincible Sonny is being slowly erased, replaced by a weak, vulnerable version of Sonny who seems to be on the verge of losing everything he has fought to build. The shock Carly faces comes not only from Natalia and Brennan's malice, but also from the fact that Sonny doesn't seem to fully understand the danger he is being put in. Sonny's longtime confidence, once his sharpest weapon, is now his fatal weakness, causing him to ignore the warning signs that Carly is trying to pick up and decipher. And so, Carly knows that if she doesn't act quickly and decisively, not only will Sonny fall, but the entire fragile system of power and order in Port Charles will be swept away. New explosive events are taking shape, taking things to an unprecedented level, where every choice, every mistake, every delay could have catastrophic consequences. Carly feels the pressure mounting, knowing that she must not only save Sonny from physical attacks, but also from more subtle plots that target his trust, his reputation, his very being. One of the biggest shocks, Carly realizes, is that Sonny, once feared by all of Port Charles, is now at risk of falling victim to the same sinister political games he once so easily controlled. And if that happens, if Sonny fails, not only will he lose everything, but everyone close to him, including Carly, will be swept into irreversible ruin. Port Charles, where every rumor can be deadly, is now on the verge of a massive power shift. Natalia and Brennan don't just want to defeat Sonny, they want to erase his legacy completely, to turn him into a fading memory, a cautionary tale to anyone who dares to challenge them. And Carly, with all she knows, all she's fought to protect, can't and won't let that happen. No matter how dangerous the road ahead is, no matter how close the enemies are, Carly is ready to fight, this time. Not just to save Sonny, but to protect a piece of Port Charles's soul that she knows she can't afford to lose. And in that battle, there's no room for compromise, no room for defeat. There's victory, or nothing but dust. Carly, with the acumen of someone who knows all too well the hidden intrigues in the chaotic world of Port Charles, is gradually building a new calculation, sharper and more dangerous than ever, aimed directly at Brennan. Through each small action, each unusual move, Carly is putting the pieces together and realizing that Brennan, who once appeared to be a sophisticated and unpredictable opponent, is actually making fatal mistakes, loopholes that, if exploited at the right time, will cause the entire sophisticated plan he has painstakingly built to collapse like a sand castle. One of the new truths that is emerging is that Brennan's plan is no longer as tightly controlled as before. The haste in taking down Sonny, the recklessness in deliberately drawing too many dangerous elements into the game, is causing the power lines that Brennan has laid out to begin to be disturbed. Carly saw it better than anyone. Realized that when greed and complacency overcame the cold calculation, Brennan was putting himself in a vulnerable position, and that was the perfect time to strike. One of the hidden forces that was slowly rising was the discontent among Brennan's former allies. As plans began to go awry, as promised profits failed to materialize, as the risk of exposure grew, the cracks in Brennan's camp became more apparent. Carly, with her sharp eye, was not merely watching, but was quietly encouraging those cracks to widen, with subtle hints, deliberate leaks, bit by bit, causing doubts and disintegration in Brennan's inner circle. As Brennan's plans spiraled out of control, a dangerous new dynamic began to form, where any alliance could turn to betrayal in an instant. Brennan, once the manipulator of the board, is now slowly becoming the hunted in the very game he once confidently controlled. Carly knows that with just the right timing, just the right decisive blow at the moment Brennan is off guard, she can not only protect Sonny but also bring down the entire underground network Brennan has built. But Carly also knows that this game is not simple. One wrong move, one uncontrolled rashness can lead her into the trap Brennan has set. Therefore, every step she takes must be carefully calculated, every move must be considered to the end, because she knows that, in this game, there is no room for mercy, and anyone who hesitates will be crushed mercilessly. Port Charles, once again, is on the brink of a secret war where only the wisest, the most ruthless can survive. Carly, with her steely resolve and unyielding heart, is ready to rewrite the rules, not just to save Sonny, but to ensure that someone like Brennan never threatens her family, her life, and everything she has fought to keep. And when the moment comes, the tsunami Carly has been secretly preparing will sweep it all away, leaving behind a Port Charles where schemers like Brennan will be a cursed thing of the past, and people like Carly will stand tall in the ashes, ready to reshape the future on their own terms. Carly's final favor to Sonny, a courageous and pivotal decision, was officially confirmed, putting an end to all her hesitations and opening a whole new chapter. Not only for Sonny's fate but for the entire power landscape in Port Charles. This was no longer the quiet, inconspicuous support that Carly had done in the past when love and loyalty forced her to stand behind Sonny, but this time, Carly took the initiative to step forward, becoming the game changer. With all the sharpness, tenacity, and bravery she had accumulated throughout a lifetime of conspiracies and betrayals, Sonny, at the darkest point of his life, with his health being eroded by unknown enemies and his reputation threatened by malicious rumors, is now truly in an unprecedented situation of oppression, where every mistake, every moment of delay could mean the end not only of him, but of the entire system of power he represents. Hidden forces, old rivals, opportunists like Natalia and Brennan, are lurking around, waiting for Sonny's weakest moment to attack from all sides. Carly knows better than anyone that if this siege is allowed to tighten any further, Sonny will have no way out. One of the biggest adjustments taking place is how Carly must change her own strategy and thinking. No longer just a worried ex-wife or a pitying ex-partner, Carly has become a true strategist. Calculating every move to control damage, protect what she can, and attack the enemy's vital weaknesses. Every action, every decision she makes from this moment on is no longer just for Sonny, but to save her own values, her own place in a city where only the strongest and most ruthless can survive. And so a new explosive story is being woven, as Carly gradually penetrates the circles of power she previously observed from afar, gradually breaking the secret alliances Brennan has built, weakening the key relationships Natalia has carefully maintained. With her cold wit and ruthless patience, Carly is using every rumor, every leak, every little detail as a weapon to fan the flames of doubt, divide the opposition, and regain the initiative for herself and Sonny. But Carly also knows that with every step she takes into the war, she is also trading a part of her soul. She is no longer the woman who fights only for her family, for her honor, or for her love. Carly is becoming the new political entity of Port Charles. One who is willing to use any means, even the means she once despised, to achieve her ultimate goal, to protect Sonny, to protect what they built together, and to restore order before everything else falls apart. The pressure Carly and Sonny face comes not simply from outside, from enemies who prey on their weaknesses, but from within themselves, from wounds that have never fully healed, from old pains that have never been fully resolved, from the conflict between loyalty, love, and survival instinct. Sonny, in the greatest storm of his life, is forced to rely on Carly in a way he never thought possible again. And Carly, in that decisive moment, must become not just a companion, but a guide. A last beacon of hope in a world that is slowly fading away. A new dangerous event is brewing, where any mistake could trigger a chain reaction, drawing Carly and Sonny into a life-or-death battle from which there is no turning back. But this time, Carly is no longer the woman standing behind Sonny. She would be the one to stand by his side, fighting for every inch of ground, every second, every breath. And when the storm passed, Port Charles would never be the same. Carly Spencer would no longer be just a side character in Sonny Corinthos's life. She would be a legend, the woman who defied fate to save it all. Carly, once known as the unyielding heart of Port Charles, is experiencing one of the most profound awakenings of her life, as she realizes that the men around her, the men she once trusted, loved, and fought to protect, are no longer the ones she can rely on. Sonny, whose strength once earned the respect of the entire city, is now reeling from the machinations of Natalia and Brennan. Drew, who once promised to be her new rock, is falling into irreparable trouble. Jason, who once was her unbreakable shield, is fighting his own battles that Carly has no control over. Throughout this long period, Carly has sacrificed so much, silently enduring countless pains, pent-up disappointments, and standing behind the scenes to suffer the consequences of others' mistakes. But now a new, insane oppression is pressing down on her, forcing Carly to an irreversible conclusion. If she continues to trust the men who swore to protect her, she will only continue to suffer. Over and over again. The oppression is no longer an external threat, but a sense of disorientation, a sense that the old systems of power she once relied on are completely corrupt. The story of Carly's change, which has been simmering inside her all this time, is now exploding like a storm that sweeps away all old bonds, creating a completely new situation that Port Charles has never seen. One of the prerequisites for this change is Carly's decision to no longer be alone, but instead to choose to ally with those she knows she can trust completely, Michael and Jocelyn, two children who share the same fighting spirit and desire to assert themselves. The three, representing 3 generations of passion, pain, and wisdom, are secretly building a new empire, a shadow power that will be feared by the old guard like Natalia, Brennan, and even Sonny. Michael, with his cool maturity, tempered by the scars of betrayal and loss, is no longer a passive heir, but a true strategist, knowing when to wait and when to strike. Jocelyn, with her grit, innate intelligence, and strong survival instinct, is poised to emerge as the sharpest young force of the new generation. The one who will not only support but also motivate Carly and Michael to go further than they ever imagined. And Carly, the heart and brains of this plan, is no longer a woman waiting for a miracle from someone else, but the architect of a revolution in power in Port Charles. No more hesitation. No more compromise. Carly, Michael, and Jocelyn are preparing to redraw the city's power map, slowly but surely, step by step, re-establishing connections, seizing opportunities, and taking down anyone who stands in their way. The old story of Carly, the woman who lived in Sonny's shadow, is being erased bit by bit, making way for a new Carly Spencer, stronger, more dangerous, more determined, and above all, no longer bound by the mistakes of the past. The story of General Hospital is truly entering a period of seismic change, where old faces will be forced to adapt or be eliminated, and new icons will rise from the ashes. Carly and the family empire she is building will not only replace the old, crumbling ones, but will push past what was once thought impossible, into a future where Port Charles is no longer governed by the outdated rules of a generation ago, but led by the iron fists of those who know that true power comes only from uncompromising determination. A new era is dawning. And Carly Spencer, along with Michael and Jocelyn, will write every fiery chapter of it, every story of triumph, every tragedy, every new dream. Port Charles, prepare yourself. Because when Carly rises, there will be no stopping her.